Hello everybody, welcome to Alex on Irons. I know it's been a while since I've done this sort of video. Yesterday West Ham got relegated from the Premier League. After a couple months of me being on this channel now and saying that I still believe we can stay up, I still believe we can do it. West Ham got relegated. I was wrong. I can admit I was wrong, and I don't know. As you can tell, this video is probably going to be more of a think piece than anything else. You probably have the background music there, but the editing in terms of what's said will probably not be edited at all, really. I want this to be very raw and genuine, because I think this is a video I'll look back on in time as a West Ham fan. And overall, yesterday was tough. I think for a lot of people, even more than me. I've been a West Ham fan for a good while now, but there are people in that stadium that have supported the club, for longer than I've been alive. It's tricky, and when you see the club go through what we've gone through today, not for the first time, I don't know whether that makes you more numb to it or whether it actually hurts more, because this felt like a special run in the Premier League. After we got promoted again, it kind of felt like we were bulletproof from relegation. And I don't mean in the sense of being egotistical and saying we're too good to go down, but just that we'd always find a way. And I do think that is a big problem as to what happened with the ownership. I think that's what they thought too. The big difference is I'm not the owner of the football club, and I can believe that we'll stay up no matter what. That as a fan, I can believe that. Even though I saw the writing on the wall, I think all of us have. I think, when your captain Jared Bowen comes out and says that it's been happening for a couple of seasons, it's really tough to even describe the feeling, because on one hand it's sort of like I knew it was going to happen, and I want to quickly say that the reason I wasn't making content had nothing to do with West Ham's status in the Premier League. I've just been going through a few rough weeks in my life personally and up here, so I just didn't really want to make that much content. Obviously doing the TikToks and the shorts are a lot easier, so I've been doing those, but I thought it was good to come on today and just discuss what was going on, really. If you are new, please do like, comment and subscribe, hopefully for more West Ham content. I'm hoping to get back on the swing of things and get back into the rhythm and the routine of creating the content, because I think it's necessary, and it's going to be an interesting summer coming up. There's no doubt about that. It's a tough time to be a West Ham fan, and I think that one thing this content does allow, and I don't mean this in an egotistical way again either, is for a place for people to come and chat to, and people to look at other West Ham fans' opinions. I love other West Ham content creators. Even if I disagree with some of them, which inevitably I will. I think one thing that's really good about modern social media, amongst a bunch of stuff that isn't that good, is that we can have a place to just vent and discuss our football club in a way which you can't do on Twitter and stuff like that, because Twitter is just a cesspool now of absolute nonsense and whatever you think Twitter is. But I'd like to think that I've created a decent little community of you guys. Obviously I know you just got 181 subscribers, but I get a lot of you guys commenting regularly, and that means a lot to me, so thank you guys all so much. Where we go from here is tough. And I think my first thing is Nuno has to go. I was really disappointed with his comments after the game, and in the press conferences. And I know no player or manager is going to cement their future. They're not going to cement their flag right now, because ultimately we don't know. But if you're a manager that's been here for most of the season, just go, oh, this is the time to talk about the future now. Sorry, mate. At least be like, if I have to stay here, if I want to stay here, I will. Give us a reason to believe that you care. I just didn't get that from him. I just got it as he just failed at his job, and now he can go get another one. And that to me is not what a manager should be. I'm not saying I'm backing Graham Potter, right, because that was the wrong appointment. But at least when he lost, he looked like he gave a toss. And I'm not angry at Nuno. Well, actually, after the article by Roche and Thomas, actually, I'm angry at Nuno. But, I genuinely wanted a manager with a bit of bottle. Just to come in and do something. I'm not having to go at Nuno as a person, right? Of course, this is his job. If he wants to go back to the Premier League again next season, which he's more than entitled to do, fair enough, mate, you go do your thing. And I have no issue with that at all. None at all. But, like, to just go, this isn't the time to talk about future. It's what West Ham fans want. We just, like, I know it could be media-trained rubbish, but just for someone to go, do you know what? My job is to get this club back to where it belongs. Not, we want to talk about futures. Also, if you don't want to stay, just say no and be here, mate. Just say no. Because of, just kicking the can down the road, which is the issue with this club in the first place, right? We just kick things down the road. We don't ever fully commit. And I think that's what's cost us. I think that's really what's cost us. Is that we're a club in disarray. We keep changing our tactics. Not on the pitch. Well, on the pitch, yes, but also off the pitch. Like, I think we had 3 directors of football in the last 3 seasons. We had a really good director of football in Carl McCauley, and we just sacked him. Why? I understand that he was there to work with Graham Potter, but it seems silly to me because he brought in Malik Juff. He brought in Mateus Fernandes. I know some people at the club said, that was, other people. I don't care. The director of football, I could be wrong. I don't really know how it works, but I can assume that he didn't just sit there and not have any say in it. Otherwise, what was he doing there? Like, he brought in Malik Juff. He brought in Fernandes. I know you say Juff's been a bit rubbish, and you've said many times, but he's a project player that we're definitely going to get a profit on, or at least break even with. Under the McCauley era, we didn't make any terrible transfers that I can think of. Gasso, I think, will still be here next season. He could definitely kick on. See my point? I don't think I'm that wrong. I think Hermanson will stay with us. I think he can kick on and become a really good goalkeeper. So why did we get rid of him? If it's Nuno that wanted him gone, why are we, stamping our, laying our flag into Nuno's project when he's literally leaving because he failed at what was a very difficult job? It's not like we were 1 point behind survival. We were, I think, it was 7 when he came in. So if he's signing a multi-year deal, this is what I don't get in football, right? If you're signing a multi-year deal and you can just go, and then I know there's a clause in there that he gets to walk, he doesn't get compensation, but even so, like, we should not be allowing him that because it gives him an out. It gives him a way to go, do you know what, I don't really care about this. I don't really care about the club. I'm not saying he didn't try, right? That's very different to what I'm saying. But I'm saying it doesn't affect him nearly as much as it affects us as fans, the staff in the training ground that are going to lose their jobs potentially. And I don't know whether it's the right choice. I'm not saying we should just stuck with Graham Potter. Don't think that for a second. But at least go with a manager that doesn't think he's better than the drop. Because I think, to me, that, even if we get relegated, at least we've got a project that we've got to build off of. Now we have to start again entirely. And I know what you might be saying, we have to do that anyway, we're going to lose a bunch of players. Sure. Right, fair. I get that point. But also, we've done this 4 times since, we lost David. This will be the 4th. So it doesn't seem that makes a difference anyway. It's really got me, this. I genuinely felt really sad yesterday. Obviously, again, it's my first relegation as a fan. I've had some people jokingly say, "You still a sport?" Of course I am. We're all just chanting West Ham till I die, and that ain't going to change. What is going to change, though, is a lot at the club. Look, I'm going to quickly go into that Rashane Thomas article, because if that's true, it's a damning indictment on how bad we have been in this situation. Like, apparently, not talking to the players in half-time at the end of games. Why? Again, I'm not a football manager. I like, my biggest experience of football manager is playing the game Football Manager, and I'm very bad at that. So I'm not trying to suggest that I know better. But what's going on there? Also, apparently Pablo had a hamstring injury, doesn't surprise me. And Nuno ignored the medical staff's advice and just got him anyway. Apparently, Nuno doesn't trust the backroom staff that he said was so vital to him understanding the club. Apparently, he doesn't trust them. Apparently, one of them, I can't remember who, tried to give the boys a rollicking after the Wolves, or during the Wolves game at half time, and Nuno told him to sit down. Sorry. Like, I know you might want to, ooze positivity, right? Especially in a relegation battle. You don't want to start pointing fingers and naming names. That doesn't help anyone. In my opinion, it doesn't help anyone. But to not tell the players that they're rubbish when they're being rubbish and when they're not winning a must-win game. Surely as a footballer, that's what you want to hear. You don't just want to get let off. And if you do, you don't deserve to be at the club. Like, that's crazy to me. The Todibo situation, look, on one hand I understand it's very fresh and raw that Todibo is angry because he got subbed off at Newcastle. He should never been on the pitch in the first place. I don't think Todibo is a bad player. I think the system was bad and it exposed Todibo. And realistically, we used the back four and the entire second half of the season, we've used Tasasi and we've used Mavropanos. So why would we change that? But this is the third time in a row Todibo has fallen out with the manager. I'm a big believer in there's no smoke without fire. That's a toughie. So I was at the game yesterday, and the fans were excellent. We never turned on the boys. It was really sad to Bevel's second half, because at that point Tottenham had already scored, and it already felt like our fate was sealed. So that was probably the quietest bubbles I've ever experienced. I've only been to the stadium 4 times. So I'm from Devon, so it takes me a while to get there, and obviously the costs of travel and hotels and stuff, it's not easy to get there, but I always try and go once a season. This season I was lucky enough to go twice. It felt hollow. It's the first time I've seen him win. For context, I went in 23-24, I saw us draw to Aston Villa. I then went in 24-25 and I saw us draw to Southampton. Then went earlier in the season to a Liverpool game when Paquetá got his infamous double yellow and got sent off. And I saw us win. And I generally think if I could honestly pick, I would have had us lose yesterday. It just didn't feel like a win. And to have that as my first win is actually gutting. We just got to bounce up. We got to come back up. And I know that a lot of fans right now are going to be saying, well, we've got to sell everyone. We're not going to sell everyone, right? If I had to say 4 players I'd love to keep for the current squad, without the obvious likes of Pablo and Freddie Potts, and those guys aren't going to stay anyway, right? For me, if I could pick 4 of the actual starting 11 proper that I want to stay, I'd say Bowen, Souček, Tati, and Mavropanos. If we can get those 4 to say, do you know what, give us a year. In the case of Bowen and Souček, I'm cautiously optimistic they will stay. I know obviously it came out in the article as well, we need to get 150 million in player sales. I'm genuinely confident we'll do that anyway without having to sell Jared Bowen or Thomas Souček. And you can tell it hurts Jared Bowen. And, I'm not saying that he's lying when he said he wants to get West Ham up and that's what's on his mind. I'm sure it is. He's not transferred yet. But it depends who comes to calling, doesn't it? And yeah, it's gutting. I saw the clip of Rice reacting to it. Just heartbreaking. It just is heartbreaking. I don't really have much more to say on that than what I have. We build again for the championship. We have to lick our wounds, take our medicine for a bit as fans. We can be angry all we want, and rightfully so. I'm just sad at the minute. I'm just sad, and it just hurts. And yeah, it's gutting. It's gutting. It's something that you never want to feel in football. And, obviously these... I don't want to do it something cheesy, but if I say something, it's like these times where it hurts make it even more sweeter when we get something good. That's all I'll say. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And make sure you like and subscribe for more West Ham content. I'll see you all soon. Take it easy, and bye-bye.